Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the 31st CAF update. And I was really hoping we were going to be at our 1,000 subscriber limit when we got this thing started. I have a beer sitting right here on the table, a bottle opener right next to it. And I don't think we're going to be able to open it during the show, but that's okay. That's okay. It'll happen over the weekend, and we'll remedy that situation Tuesday when we do the Comic Art Live thing. But I'll keep an eye on it. I'm sure anybody who's watching on YouTube right now will let me know if we manage to hit the 1,000 mark. And of course, anybody who is watching on YouTube, that subscribe button is over there. So please hit it if you're enjoying all the stuff that we're doing. And what is not to enjoy right after doing the great interview with Rob Liefeld on Tuesday, which I thought was probably one of the best ones we've done. And that's I'm not dissing anybody we've had on before. Rob was just crazy infectious. I'd never talked to him before, never met him. And it was really fun. I had a great time. And then the Dueling Dealers show last night was incredible too. Sold, I think each guy sold 7 of their 12 rounds. So, I mean, things are working well for us right now. And it's all because of you guys watching the show. So I certainly appreciate all that. And you might ask, why am I wearing, a Bill and Ted shirt today? It says, be excellent to each other. There were just a couple things that, have happened this week made me think, I got to at least start off with a little monologue about, how we all need to just, enjoy what we're doing and enjoy the hobby a little bit more. At the beginning of the, before the Liefeld episode started, and Rob, yes, exactly. That episode was fantastic. Before we started the episode, we were all in the green room. Rob wasn't even there. And I saw, a comment come up from YouTube. I knew there was about 12 or 15 people waiting on YouTube already, which was pretty cool. I've never seen that many people waiting for our show to start. But it was some comment about, is this the opportunity where we can, dig Rob on something or other? I don't even know what. IGG, so it must be an Indiegogo campaign. I don't know anything about it. But, and I was like, oh man, this was the one thing I'm worried about, is somebody's just going to try to monopolize the show and just use it to say whatever they want. And so, I was like, all right, I'd rather converse with this person, but it's literally like 3 minutes before the show is going to start. And then Rob came in and then they said a second thing. And I'm like, oh, shit. So at the end of the day, pardon me, I ended up blocking that guy because I was just like, this is our time. This is, I've gone through all this prep work. I want to have a good show. I want to talk about art. And if somebody has some beef with Rob about anything at all, you can do it anywhere you want, right? There's so many opportunities online that, for somebody to give somebody a hard time. That's my show is not it. It's not that opportunity, So thank you. I appreciate. I do feel like I'm on a roll, definitely. So at any rate, so with that kind of thing going on, I hated doing it. I don't even know who the person was. I mean, maybe they're a CAF user, maybe they weren't. But I would have liked to have actually, because that my first inclination would have been to hop into YouTube and say, no, it's not the right opportunity to do that. Do it another time. But with the show literally starting, I felt like I didn't have anything else to do. And so that's what happened on that. And then earlier today, something that had happened on CAF, didn't happen on CAF. Somebody brought something to my attention that happened in November. They were mad about a deal with another guy. And I just said, well, we can't help you because we don't intervene in disagreements between collectors. So that kind of squashed what had happened. I kind of felt like the guy at the time, had a reason to be upset. If it happened to me, I would have been upset. But this is back in November or December 1st, somewhere around in there. And then crops up today, the guy is still mad. They didn't resolve their issues. He's like spamming the guy's some piece of art or something in his gallery. It's sometimes you got to let stuff go. You got to just, bad things happen in the hobby all the time. But you can't even say that. They don't happen that often. Things like the situation this guy found himself in do happen. And like I said, I felt he had, if I was him, I would have been mad. But if he couldn't resolve the issue, 3 months later, he shouldn't still be bearing a grudge, right? And using CAF as a place to do it. Now, the guy is doing it to his premium. He can delete the comments out of his CAF gallery all he wants. He's probably been doing it for the last 3 months. And you know what? If I saw it continue, I'd probably tell the guy, you're not doing yourself you're doing yourself a disservice by constantly, bashing somebody. There's just it's not going to solve anything. You just got to let it go. And then as fate would have it, 30 minutes ago, I got an email from somebody who's also, who's trying to jab me about something about the site. And I won't say what it is, but basically it was about somebody posting things that aren't comic art. That somebody was posting an image. I don't even know because I didn't see it. I thought they were talking about Nick Catratis posting pictures, of how he displays his art. So my first reply back was, and I didn't know the person who had emailed me. I didn't know their gallery at all. So I went and looked at their gallery, and oddly enough, what was in their the three latest pieces, things they posted in their gallery weren't comic art. And so I emailed them back and I said, because I'm thinking it's Nick, and I just say, well, I don't mind when people share, how they display their art in their homes. You're right; it's really not the place for that. But you're showing stuff in your gallery too. I look at, I turn my head the other way every now and again for people who've been on the site for a long time, which both of those people, which Nick of course has, and so is this guy who was emailing me that I didn't know. So there was a bunch of back and forth because he's like, well, no, my thing is art. And I'm like, well, the guy who took the picture of what you did is art, but the thing you have in there isn't art at all. It's a print for all intents and purposes. And it wasn't a print. It was I won't even tell you what it is because it might lead to who it is. But, I was just like, I look the other way on certain things because usually the one thing we've learned about CAF that in the last 8 months is CAF has meant a lot for a lot of people. It's changed their lives. It's built friendships. And, and he told me it wasn't Nick, by the way, and he told me it was something else. And some of you guys probably might even be aware of it. I still didn't go and look to see what it was. But, when he described it, I said, well, for some people, CAF is far more important to them than Facebook. So all their friends are there. And sometimes when they have something that's really hurting them, that they're going to show an image like that because they want their friends to know, they're looking for whatever they're looking for. So, and so I don't have a problem when those kinds of things happen because usually that's like a one-day event and the image goes away or they take it down, they got it out of their system. And it wasn't done in a mean, spiteful, hateful way. But the person who emailed me was like, what am I going to do? What's next? Am I going to post pictures of my cat? Kind of a thing. And so they're just coming at it from the wrong approach. And so we emailed back and forth. And finally at the end, I just said, hey, I bend the rules every now and again because I'm not a megalomaniac. I don't want to rule with an iron fist on any of those points, with which each of the things that we just talked about. I try to be as hands off as I possibly can so that we have, so we can have a good time. And yes, I completely agree. Bootlegging CAF is far greater than Facebook and older than Facebook too. So, we have that going for us. So before I get started, I actually got a package in the mail. So I know what it is, or at least I'm pretty sure I know what it is. This is a gift from one of the guests we had on a few weeks back. And let's see. And again, this has never happened. In 18 years, I had never got a gift. In the last, 2 months, I've gotten 3 packages in the mail. So this is my own Cran Boys t-shirt. I'm an official Cran Boys member now. So that is very nice. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate that. And there's another, maybe it's in the alternate version of the shirt, I'm guessing. It is. This one's, I think this one's a little bit cooler, I have to say. Like that. So there you go. Cran Boys for life. Thank you, Shane. Thank you, everyone from the Cran Boys. I sincerely appreciate it. Those guys are great. And a few, I know at some point later in the future, I'll have a couple of the other Cran Boys on the show as well. And I'm setting this letter aside so I don't miss reading it. So, with all that out of the way, I guess, yes, Bill and Ted. That's it. Like I said, it's all about loving one another and just having a good time. Be excellent, right? I mean, that's Bill and Ted has always been one of my favorite shows. So, and again, if anybody's paying attention to the subscribers, if we get lucky and we hit 1,000 tonight, please, somebody I don't know, ping me, yell at me somehow. I'll make sure that I pop the cork on that. What do I got here? I've got a Guinness. So anyway, let me get on with the show because I've got Jay Dee is in the green room and I don't want to leave him hanging for too long. I've already been talking long enough. So let me see here. I wanted to, again, so the CAF update for today covers January 1st through the 7th. So as you know, we always kind of give the spiel on dealer sales, art sales, and whatnot. The dealer sales were actually pretty incredible last week. Probably, I think it might have been a record or at least very close. And Felix wasn't even involved in it, which is surprising because he's always at the top, but he didn't have any art drops that period. Ramita Man had 88 sales and almost made $250,000 for a week. I mean, I got to get that job somehow. Next up was Albert. He had 35 sales for $137,000. Panel Page had 12 sales, just under 60,000. And Anthony had his usual 103 sales. So he dominates on the volume and had just over $36,000 in sales. Now the top items. Let me get my video up here for you. And all right, here we go. The top items are this piece by Tim Sale. It's from Batman Dark Victory number 0. I think it's actually some kind of a wizard variant of some kind or exclusive. It's page 1 to 10. So I'm guessing this was sold complete. It was $45,000. Sold by Albert, and you can see his logo on the art there. Next up is a piece sold by Berkey from Ramita Man, Marvel Team Up number 37 cover from 1975 by Ed Hannigan and John Romita Sr. $35,000 asking price on that one. And another piece from Albert. This is by John Bolton. It's called The Conqueror number 1 wraparound cover. Asking price on that one was $25,000. And next up is this page from X-Men number 10. It's page 2, of course, from 1964. It's Jack Kirby, Chick Stone, sold for $19,000 by Ramita Man as well. You're getting the idea. That's why his volume was so high this week. And next up is a piece from Albert, sold for $18,000 is the asking price. Frank Miller, this is from Wizard as well, oddly enough, and it's 300 pinup. You're going to see this piece later because I featured it in the popular art on CAF. And finally, this piece was sold by Panel Page for a $16,000 asking price. It's David Finch. It's the cover to Batman 98. So lots of good artwork in there. And again, a really solid week for dealers. Like I said, 495,000 was the total sales volume compared to 386 the week before. And 386 was a pretty healthy week for the dealers that we track. So very interesting. I haven't been paying attention to see what the sales are like so far this week, but I mean, we already know that, the trend has been that the dealer sales are continuing to, the volume's increasing because of lack of shows, and and just the prices are going up because of scarcity of stuff. So, I mean, it's just happened. I'm priced out of everything. I've got to beg and plead now to get a few pieces into my collection that I want. So as far as auction houses go, auction houses were up that last week as well. 267,000 in sales as compared to 232,000 the week before. Comic Link had their focused auction last Thursday and Friday. I don't include any of that in any of the figures, of course, since we don't have their market data. Maybe one day Josh will relent and let me display his data and report on it, but not yet. Not yet. I hope to have a talk with him in the next few weeks and do my annual ask with him about that. But here, let me give you the rundown on the top 3 pieces from eBay and Heritage. First up, this was a buy it now. It's from Avengers 31. This piece sold for $3,145. It's page 4. It's from 1966. It's Don Heck and Frank Giacoia. And it's one of those buy it nows. And it was actually, I think it was originally priced, it was a make offer. It was $3,400 originally. This is Star Wars 85 page, Bob McLeod and Tom Palmer. This sold for $2,650. Lots of action on this one. I think it had about 40 to 45 bids. And this was actually a buy it now as well. Commandy page from number 28. Jack Kirby, of course, from 1975, sold for $2,180. And a lot of these buy it nows, people have I'll tell you about that when we're done with this. Heritage. This is a piece by San Julian, Death Dealer painting for Zeta Tribute, of course, sold for $9,000. And next up is going to be a piece by Alex Ross. This is a JSA Kingdom Come special page, Superman number 1 story. It sold for $6,000. And finally, this, yeah, you like that cat? That's like the Mike Berkey eyes. I had to put that in there. If you watched Dueling Dealers last night, you know what that is. I'm gonna try to do that every episode of this now. But this was Paul Gulacy and Jack Abel from Fear number 20, 1974, sold for $4,920. And the only thing I was going to tell you about eBay, and I don't even use it, and I think I probably should, is there are apps out there that will tell you when, you can set up your keywords like you already do on CAF or even on eBay, that you get pinged the moment a keyword result appears in the in the categories that you're looking for. So if you're looking for a Kirby Commandy, you'll know within a minute of that piece going on. And if it's a buy it now and it's priced lower than it should be or whatever, bang, you're done. It's over. You don't have to wait to go search it. So I can't tell you the names of the apps. There's several of them. And, but that's the way to do it. So if you're curious and you're still buying on eBay, that is, that's the tactic that most of these people employ to, yes, exactly. Thank you. But I didn't write that. I hate to tell you that, but that was Colin. Colin did that intro. But we try. Colin and I coordinate a lot. And I'll tell you, just so everybody knows, Colin Solon is, I bow down to him every day. He has taken over a lot of the editorial functions for me, so I can do all the prep work and things that I need to do for these live streams. And I still write the Thursday mailing. I still do, I review everything he puts together. But he kind of followed my lead. We worked together for the first month and a half, and he's just run with it. He's really, he's a writer by trade. He was unemployed thanks to COVID, and he had worked for me 6 or 7 years ago, and I was really fortunate enough to get him back on the team. So, but again, without him, we wouldn't be able to do all the fun things that we've been able to do here on the live streams with everybody. So let me get into the final bit before I'm going to bring Jay Dee in here. That's the popular artwork as deemed by me for that same period. First up is this piece in Michael Lovett's collection. Of course, it's by Nick Bradshaw. This is Fantastic Four from the 2018 series. It's the number 22 cover variant. That's pretty awesome. And Kat should be interested in this. It's Jim Balent, Catwoman number 15, page 22 from the collection of Dino Mauricio by Jim Balent and Bob Smith. And this is, something you don't see too often. Todd McFarlane, Detective Comics 578, page 2 page. It's in the collection of Daryl R. Very nice. And this is a Incredible Hulk number 340, Wolverine versus Hulk recreation by Mark Farmer and, of course, Dale Keown doing pencils. It's in Malvin V's collection. Congratulations, Malvin. That's beauty. And this is, now it's either Guillaume or William. I'm never sure. March. It's in the collection of Vic V. This is Batman 85, epilogue page 3. Next up is a fantastic Frankenstein chapter illustration by Bernie Wrightson. This is in the collection of Matt Kennedy. Going to have Matt on the show in the future. Great guy, great collection. And next up is this John Buscema and Bill Sienkiewicz, Wolverine number 16 page. This is in Michael Senzakwa, his collection. And Michael. I'm sorry, I apologize. I butcher that name every time I try. Next up is a piece in Kareem El Rafe's collection. This is from X-Men 26. It's Andy Kubert and Matt Ryan. Now, this is my good friend Joseph Melchior's collection. Travis Terrest, of course, a Batman pinup. I don't know what it was used for. I didn't read the description on it. But check out Joseph's gallery. He's got a fantastic collection. And here is, of course, the Frank Miller piece. I had done this before I did the other one. So Joshua Tan, congratulations. It's a beauty. And we get to see another Bernie Wrightson piece. This is in Glenn Crane's collection, Swamp Thing number 4 cover. I mean, you can't get any better than that. Well, I mean, I guess, maybe Swamp Thing 9. But still, that's a beautiful cover. And we got another Kirby Stone piece. This is from X-Men 8, page 16, collection of Bill J. Bill's collection has been growing by leaps and bounds. He's probably gotten the most views out of anybody in the last 6 months on CAF, and it's well-deserved. And 2 more pieces. This is, of course, John Byrne. This is from Captain America 291, the cover. It's in the collection of PA. And finally, this is Avengers 39 title page, Don Heck and George Rossos, or George Bell. This is in the collection of my good friend Kirk Dilbeck from 3 Wishes and patron of art. He's a dealer, reps a lot of guys, been a long time supporter of everything that we do here on CAF. So I would encourage you to check out his gallery, because not only does he have a lot of art for sale, because he doesn't have his own website. He really uses CAF just to sell all of his rep work, but he's got a fantastic collection. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And yeah, I'm having a bad hair night, guys. Sorry. Now I know why Berkey was telling me I needed to get a haircut the other day. One thing I have to do, because I didn't do this last night, I had promised Hakes that I was going to show, like, between round 6 and 7, a little clip for them about their auction. And so I apologize. I'm going to show it now. It's not something that I would normally do on a night like this, but because I screwed up and was so enthralled with the dueling dealers last night, I forgot to do it. So before I bring Jay Dee on, I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to get to chatting with Jay Dee.
Here is some of the amazing art that you can find in Hakes auction number 231, open now for bidding. Be sure to check out the full auction by visiting Hakes.com. Hakes, America's first collectibles auction house.
All right, there you go. See, trust me, that is not going to be the norm, but it might be something I work into the Dueling Dealer show, just because a lot of people who sell art are very interested in what we're doing over there, as you might imagine. So, but I haven't explored it. It's just like when I started CAF. We didn't have advertising on CAF for the first 4 years. I mean, it was bare bones. It was just me having fun with it. And then, eventually, the pressures that be and everything powers when everybody wants to kind of gain a presence. So we'll see. But Hakes is a big advertiser on CAF, and I always try to bend over backwards because they only have about 3, maybe 4 auctions a year. And Kelly McLean and Sean Rutan are good friends of mine, and always want to support the work that they're doing. And I saw that somebody said 998 subscribers. So cool. Keep me posted on that. Maybe we'll hit 1,000 while we're chatting here. But without further delay, let me bring in Jay Dee. Hey, Jade, how's it going?
Good, Phil. How are you?
Hanging in there. I'm learning the ropes as I go, man. But we've been, things have been a lot of fun. Before we kind of get started on your origin, so I just wanted everybody to know how I met Jay when I was helping out with one of the mainframe shows. Jay is part of the Comic Core group, if you're not familiar with them on YouTube. Lots of good guys. They do shows nightly that I believe most of them start at 10 o'clock, I think, or maybe. And they just kind of key in on different segments of comic book collecting, from Golden Age collecting to modern stuff. And they're just a fantastic group of guys. And as far as I'm concerned, they're the ones who really started doing online conventions when everything kind of fell apart and we knew that the summer, that nothing was going to happen. They jumped out in, I believe it was, remember we did a funny show on CAF that I guess you could say was really first, but it wasn't really much of an effort to do a show. And then in April was when I believe the first mainframe show happened, and it was unbelievable. So, and I reached, what's that?
It was a lot of fun, but we didn't think, I'll be honest with you, we didn't know, we're not professionals, we never put on a con before. We just made phone calls everywhere and just said, hey, you want to come on with us? And it just happened.
Right. It did. It was, and it was great. And, at that time I didn't know anything about, say, StreamYard, the program that I used to do my production in. But I know that, that show kind of benefited Hero a bit. So I reached out to Jim McLaughlin and I just said, hey, can you put me in touch with these guys? Because, I'm going to be doing this show in May and I kind of want to get a few pointers. So I talked to Chad, who kind of is the ringleader of everybody over there. And so I eventually, so he helped me kind of get set up for our first streams in mid-May. And then he kind of gave me pointers during the show. He even helped out a little bit when I didn't know what I was doing. And then I helped you guys with that second mainframe show. So, and now they're doing crazy stuff now. It's like become their business. I mean, I think they're doing a show for soap operas or something like that is on the horizon.
We got soap operas coming up. We've got some TikTokers. We've got chefs probably in the future.
Everybody needs a show. Everybody needs to have their cons be virtual. I mean, and when we did the mainframe programming for you guys, I actually built it so it could be done. It could just keep being recycled. And so I told Chad today, I'm like, hey, if you need help, with more notice than 2 or 3 weeks, I can definitely repurpose the code I did for you in like July or August, so that we can, so you can have a show and not be reliant on things you don't want to be reliant on.
Yeah, we do have a big one in April. Not a big one. It's a 90s con. We haven't come up with a name yet. I like 90s Drek Con, but that's just me. 90s con, and we're going to get a lot of the people that you know from the 90s that, you know, I'm not going to say many names, but you could figure out that left some of the big ones and started another one. So
Right. Well, what I and I told just, and you may not know about it already, but hopefully I'm gonna have a talk with Chad on Saturday, I believe, because I basically said, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. We did a great show in November, but I'd almost rather have like the mainframe group help me out on the panel side of things for our next show in May, just so I can focus more energy on the show floor and the things that really make the commerce happen, and then have you guys pretty much kind of take over the panel, where with my suggestions on some hosts and some of the guests, but just kind of running with it and trying to work Hero into it, where we can get back to supporting the Hero initiative through CAF, something that I did for about the first 10 years of CAF, but they kind of Hero kind of changed their marketing gears and stopped using me for that. And I've always wanted to kind of get back into doing something for them. So that was my suggestion, was kind of get them in, get you guys and Hero to help me on the panel side of the world, and we'll make a fantastic show. It'll be literally like having two shows, but wedged together for one weekend, and we're both promoting each other, and it sounds great, right? I mean, I'm in. So on Saturday we're going to iron out those. Oh, somebody said 1,000. Is that true?
This is the third time I've been live on somebody else's channel when they hit 1,000. I did it with 3 Men in the Basement, and I was on Comic Core when they hit 1,000, and now I'm on Comic Art Fans when they hit 1,000.
That's crazy. All right, well, I got to do it. I said I would do it. This is my second toast in 2 weeks. That's crazy. What was that?
It's a monster. My wife drank all the beer. She's watching right now, and she just drank the last of the Space Camper beer, which is a Comic-Con beer, by the way.
Thank you, everyone. I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. It was really just the push in the last couple of weeks has just been phenomenal. The shows have been phenomenal. I mean, I can't tell you how much how happy it made me, because now, as you know, once we hit 1,000, YouTube starts giving us more tools to promote the show better, to run the whole system better. I mean, I have to get approved or something, but I'm sure that doesn't take too long. But wow. Okay. Thank you. You guys and gals are fantastic. So Jay, now that we kind of gotten all this we got the ceremony out of the way. Great stuff. Now, I don't know if you had a chance to, because you've only had a gallery for, an account on CAF for like a year and a half. And when we first were talking last week to kind of get your images and stuff, you didn't even have any art posted in your gallery. I was going to always post it, but I am going to do it now. And the only reason I didn't was because sometimes the art is here, and sometimes I used to put it away. I have some pieces I keep away that I've had since the 90s that would be very high value now and very sought after, but they weren't when it was $200 to $400 a page. But some Jim Starlin work, some Avengers stuff. But it's all right. That's all right.
All the stuff out. We'll start putting it all out for sure.
Right. So I can't tell people go to Jay Dee's CAF gallery so you can see everything that we're not going to talk about this evening.
You will this weekend, because I'm definitely going to take some high res pics and get this stuff done. All right.
That sounds good. So you know the shtick, man. I want to know what got you going in the original comic art hobby. What was the trigger that got you to pick up that first piece of art?
All right. So I was always a comic collector. I've always loved comics. Started with Star Wars 1 as the first comic I ever got as a gift. And then in 1983, there was my 10th birthday party was at like a tree lighting ceremony. And I got $5. And the next day I was in December, and I went and I bought 3 comics, and they are there. It is Thor 337, 338, and 339. The Walt Simonson Beta Ray Bill run, which I didn't really know. I just loved Thor. But my favorite cover ever was Silver Surfer 4. Now, I don't have the original art for that, but I do have something that's a little too big here. But I'll just take the camera real quick and show it to you. That is technically the first commission I ever had done of a 30 by 20 one there. But now, the first piece of art I've ever had, I showed it to Bill a while ago. I don't know where it's the 2 sketch cards from the John Buscema. Oh, here it is, underneath here. The first piece of original art I ever got, you're going to laugh because this goes when the Skybox came out and did cards, and it was Silver Surfer John Buscema, who was my favorite artist at the time. And I didn't get this out of a pack. I wasn't that lucky. I had to trade some baseball cards and hockey cards for it.
Mm-hmm.
From there, I started collecting various pieces of some X-Men I like Gambit from that series, like when he started coming out, and I have some of those pieces and some a few others. And then I started to really get into knowing how to do it. When I would go to cons, going back, let's say I started getting sketches and stuff at cons about 10, 12 years ago. And I get one at every con, whether it be Jim Starlin. Can I get a Thanos? Or George Perez? Can I get a Thanos? Or can I get a Thor or a Thanos or a Star Wars one? That's all it was. And I've got an entire box of just sketch covers I've had done. Whether it be some of the ones you see back here, George Perez doing the first Vader with the Infinity Gauntlet. And that was the theme I went with. And every con I go to, you're guaranteed someone's going to get a commission. And it could be anything from a Franco Francavilla to a guy who I never heard of. I just said, hey, this guy right here, he was $40, and it was just added colors to it. And I said, just have fun with it. And that's the only rule I ever give to anybody who I ask commissions from is one rule, you have to have fun with it. I'm not going to tell you what to draw. I'm going to give you the theme and you have fun with it. But sequential art was something where I got into it when at the Westchester County Center in 1997, I was living in Valhalla at the time. And it was at a con where John Buscema was, where I got that poster signed. Well, he was selling the posters, but original art really wasn't what it is now. I'll be honest with you. You could, Anthony and I, Anthony Snyder, we talk about that con where what we passed up versus what it is now from the people like the Bernie Wrightson, like John Buscema, some Steranko stuff, original stuff he was doing was very cheap. Very reasonable, free Walt Simonson stuff, they're just doing it. But I ended up getting a sequential piece from a 2-in-1, a Marvel 2-in-1 that had Thanos on it, and I was a big fan. This was back then of the whole Silver Surfer, the Infinity Gauntlet, and then what was going on. And I got my first piece, and you know what it's like. It's another rabbit hole, whether it's Golden Age comics, pulps for me, toys, whatever you're into, whatever you have a passion for, somehow there's a rabbit hole that just never ends for all that passion. So I think it's that was it. But I enjoy it, and I'm always looking out for other pieces and always looking out for some fun.
So what year was that show?
1997 or 96, 97 at the Westchester County Center.
Okay.
So
yeah, no, that's like a year or two before I started collecting too, because I started late 97, maybe early 98. So those were the days. I got a couple free Walt Simonson sketches, early on, because he'd be at shows here in Ohio and nobody was bothering him. He came every year to like an anime convention, and I would only go because my son, he liked like Sonic the Hedgehog and a few other things. So we would go in there, and I'd always buy him a piece of animation art. And then Simonson would be in the corner, and there'd be nobody with him, nobody talking to him. I mean, what's he doing there? And so I would always go over, and he'd just give us a free sketch. So I've got a couple, to my son, like a Batman, and I don't even remember what the other one was that I got from him. But yeah, those were the days, when could just
you would talk to the artists. And I remember going outside and having a cigarette, and there's my idol, like just big John Buscema right there. Now I have to say that I grew up in New York and lived around New York City and went to comics there. I delivered newspapers, and one of the spots was Cosmic Comics, which was well known as a Marvel bullpen at the 80s, 90s bullpen hangout, where they would go, and they would always do table signings there for like $5 or $10. So whether it was Big Stan, John, Al Milgrom was always there, always all these guys were always there. And so I was always around them, but there was something about John Buscema. He was, first of all, a lot bigger than I was. And he was just big behemoth of a man. But I remember having cigarettes out there and seeing Bernie Wrightson out there and talking to him. And I have a piece from there. And so it's just fun stuff. It's not like it is now, but now it is that I've been going to cons and people recognize me, whether it be from Golden Guys or from doing the YouTube or just seeing me around being the Golden Age elephant guy for so long that people make fun of it. And It's a shtick. It is. It's a funny. It's a shtick, but the dealers know who I am, and they say, "Hey, that guy." Or if I dress like, remember, I cosplayed as Paste Pot Pete, which was the first one that Steranko ever saw. He said, and that man has been to a lot of cons. And I have a lot of pictures with a lot of the artists and writers. And Jim would have taken his picture with me, he said, but he was too interested in trying to get my wife to sit on his lap. But that's
well, that's how Jim. I've only met him one time, and it was one of the most fun conversations I've ever had. It was a 20-30 minute conversation with him when he found out who I was. And oh my God, the stories he just told me crazy stuff. I would love to get Jim onto the show one time.
Oh, it would be great.
He would be pretty crazy.
He talked to me 20 minutes about the story of this cover, and I had him sign it. And to me, it's personalized. And I know people say, why'd you do that for? Because it's mine. And I've had this cover forever. It's my favorite Warren publishing cover, and it's not a Frazetta. It's a Steranko. I love the Frazettas, but it's the only one he ever did, and the story was just hysterical. So I'll tell you that one soon. But you want to see some art, don't you?
Yeah.
So show me what you have up, and I'll go.
All right, I will. Let's see. I'll pull up the first piece here.
Okay, that is my first John Buscema piece from a Thor I ever got. That's from Thor 231, and it's actually a good storyline piece. That's the first and death of Armok, who was a character in the storyline. He was like a Neanderthal that came back with super strength, almost as strong as Thor, and it's great panels of Thor, but in Armok. But there's also Hercules is in there too. One of my favorite, Thor 126 and Thor 125 is very early Hercules in Marvel appearance.
Oh yeah,
gods and gods, and so you've got the two gods versus Thor, and Thor kills him. This is also the first time Jane Foster appears back in the comics since the days of Kirby, because she left. Remember, he was a nurse, and then she went to be a nurse. But he flies off at the last panel on the next page, which I don't have, but I've looked for it. On the next page, Thor flies off, and he starts his downward spiral of finding out where Jane is. And so it's a kind of a historic book, but it was my first John Buscema piece of original art of Thor, who was my favorite character. And just a great, I love the line work on it. And, Buscema draws from the elbow, which is such a great style. So this kind of reflects that as well. And it's inked by Dick Giordino too, so that's always good.
Oh, without question. And I'll tell you, Thor was always my favorite book back in the day as well. So I
think we're gonna see a bit more Thor.
Yes, exactly. Here's another image.
Okay, that's another John Buscema, and the story of this is that was the second. I have three of the same book. I've gotten over. It took me about 3 years to get three of the same book. I'm looking for more. It's Doom 2099, and that's a great piece. But what I should have shown you is the back. That's Daredevil. These are characters that John Buscema isn't really known for drawing. Really, not Daredevil. You don't really see it. You always think of Frank Miller, Gene Colan, Wally Wood, Ramita. Or Frank Miller and the guys later on. But this is a John Buscema page with some Daredevil on it. And this little character down at the bottom right over there, that little creepy guy down there, looks like the bookie I had in college. So it was funny. But on the back of it, if you want to see the back, see how well it looks, I'll take it out of the plastic here. One of my favorite things is called the Sweet Surprise. Now, this has an overlay on it, but the back of it has John practicing animals, including horses and a great bloodhound right there. And that's one of the what I call the sweet surprises of original art that you never know. And it's inked with Scott Kolbosh, who was one of the main inkers of a lot of off-title books in the 90s. But that's page number 11 of Doom 2099, issue number 40, which is an all Buscema book.
Very nice. So I mean, since and just I don't know much about your collection either. So I mean, how much art do you actually have? Because I see a lot on the walls. And you just said you have a box full of sketch covers. So I mean, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, figure how many years of doing this, people in the night, as someone who told me the other day, oh, is that a book from the late 1900s? I felt real old when they said that. I said, yeah. Yeah, since I've had the passion to go get sketch. I always thought commissions were cool because it was something personal. And that's exactly why when people say, oh, you never really make money on I'm not in this for the money. I don't think anybody, I tell people this, if you want to make $1 billion in comics or make $1 million in comics, start out a billionaire. That's the best way to do it, you know? So,
very true.
But yeah, unless you're, you know, Snyder, Berkey, or Vermeer Man or Anthony Snyder's comic art, great guys, and you'll hear me talk about them in a little bit. But because they've been big proponents, and or Felix is a great one as well. So yep, and all these great dealers. So.
Well, they are the pushers though. That's like your they're like your bookie.
They're my dealers. Yep.
No, I got nothing wrong with them. I take care of them every day.
Oh yeah, I get quite a few texts from some of them. So, okay, that's another piece. That's the first one I got from that page. That's Doom. Now, Doom is known associated with John Buscema from his Fantastic Four work that he did on a bunch of the 100s levels and stuff. This is again page 19 of 2099. No real sweet stuff on the back, but that Doom is a great Doom. It's an older John Buscema, which is very different from his, you know, Silver Age or even his Golden Age stuff. But this has got a cool story about, this is in Latveria and a kid in a cage there, and he comes out and he releases him. It turns out that it's Doom from the future dealing with Doom from the past. Again, John Buscema, just a great piece right there. Again, these have those 90s overlays on them, and I'm glad I get to get them with the overlays. Sometimes you never get the overlays on it. So this is a good piece. You see the little kid up there. It's done very well. Again, great rendering and hashing by the great John Buscema.
Well, it's nice you actually have the heavy duty Mylars for at least the pieces you've held up so far. I mean, that's great.
I have various, heavy duty Mylars, polys, and some of them I took out of their frames for today. So,
well, I mean, most people only go with the polys, you know, but no, that's great. The only time I get those is if I get it when the dealer sends me the art. I don't go out of my way to buy them. I buy all my bags from Bags Unlimited and just get them by the case.
Gotcha. Same here. I've actually get them from Anthony. Oh, this is a fun one. So this is a commission I had Dave Acosta do. And I kind of started this before the whole marriage of Marvel and DC, or Marvel and Star Wars, or Lucasfilm and Disney, and the mouse buying both of it. But my favorite two covers, not related to the Silver Surfer Thor or anything, was Avengers 1 and Star Wars 42. And I wanted to combine the two of them. So that's what that is. And I'll show, where's Dave Acosta's piece here. So that's done by Dave Acosta, and he even put IG-88 up on top. So this is that piece, and it's called The Hunters. And here's what Avengers 1 looks like. Loki takes the place, Vader takes the place of Loki. Thor is Boba Fett, and then you got Bosk is the Hulk, and Dengar is Iron Man. And if you look at the two, this is the other one, the Star Wars 42, the first appearance of Bosk, Boba, and Dengar and IG-88. Kind of combine the two in a way to make one piece for me that here, and this is one of my favorite. I have a few homages, so to speak, I had done. I did one with Thor and Thanos and Darth Vader, redoing Fantastic Four 112. I have them doing Silver Surfer 4, and behind me up there, Silver Surfer 4, X-Men 141, and then Thor 126, and then there's a big one back there. I'll just show it real quick because it's available. It's in a frame. This is what would be the 112 Thor versus Hulk recreation with Vader versus Thanos. It's one of those things that somebody always like. I've always been a fan of both those characters. It's my favorite comic character and my favorite comic villain, my favorite movie villain. So I've been doing that before the Avengers 1 came out, but it's been harder to find the Thanos books but I've had most of them my whole life. I mean, at least I've been collecting. Probably by 1997, I had every Thanos appearance.
Mhm.
Now it's possible. Now it's kind of like trying to get every cover of someone.
Right, exactly.
Everything else, yeah.
Stanley wants to know: does Jay Dee ever part with pieces of art?
Some sequential art I do. Never my commissions, because that's something I've always kept those commissions. There are some sketch covers that people have asked me about, because I got them from pretty well-known artists now that weren't about 10 years ago or 8 years ago, such as Joel Jones, Clayman. These might have been $20 at the time.
Right.
Ivan Rice, Ron Friends. I mean, a bunch of them. I'll show all. I'll come back. I'll put those all out for you to see. They're fun.
You should.
Carrie Nord as well. Carrie Nord.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the great with Franco Francavilla right there. So Dat Nguyen did that piece over there. I mean, this was years ago. So they all have the dates, because I was never into CGC in comics, but art was always, I had more yellow slabs than I had blue slabs.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've got more blue slabs because I finally caved in and said, all right, I got to protect these things. So thank you very much for that. So,
oh, yeah.
Wes Stefan, yes, I am excited to tell him I have sold one more book, and he's got a GoFundMe for a great cause going on the CGC boards. So helping out a special needs child. So very good.
Yeah, Wes, if you want, feel free to put a link to that in the chat. If YouTube lets you do that, I don't even know if they let you do that. If they don't, send me the link, and I will put it into the description of the show after we're done here, both on Facebook and on YouTube. So yeah, JD and I were talking about that earlier. So very happy to help out wherever we can. And Kat wanted to ask, have you ever had anyone hound you for certain pieces? Now, if you haven't had a lot of stuff in your CAF in the past, maybe not. But
right, that's part of the reason. There are some pieces. I've had some people ask me, and I've always, for example, some of the people said, "Oh, I love that Avengers Star Wars thing." I'll give them Dave Acosta's email address, or Tony Lozana's email address, or Joe Rubenstein. Somebody asked me one time about him, Joseph Rubenstein. I'm like, yeah, if you reach out to him, he can do it for you. Or there are people who do commission stuff with JR all the time. So I always say you can get it yourself.
Right, exactly. No, that's a good way to do it. And you're getting them more work too.
Yeah, that's and then I get calls and saying, okay. So
all right. Well, here, this is a Wrightson.
Yes, that is my Bernie Wrightson. Frank. I have my favorite Wrightson work is Frankenstein, and I don't think it's not just comic art. I think that transcends into the Da Vinci world. If Stan always called John Buscema the Michelangelo of comics, and that might be the case, that would make him Leonardo da Vinci. If you don't know how Bernie used to draw, he didn't hold the pen the way you would think. And something like this probably took him about maybe 11 minutes or 12 minutes, would take most of us there. And it's the look on it it's Frankenstein, kind of the muck monster as well. If you don't know the muck monster from Eerie 68, When a Great Summon, this is my favorite character Wrightson did was Frankenstein. I do have a lot of the Swamp Thing signed, and I do I was big into getting his signature on things. So, but this is that piece. It is my Bernie Wrightson piece. I am always on the lookout for more. True story. My friend Lewis was at a con in 1998, and he's just started working, and he refused. He could have bought for I think under $1,000 a page pages from Swamp Thing 1. But that was the most, and nobody would have paid for $1,000 because it was sitting right there.
Right.
And it was like $800 for this page, and they were all the pages that you think it would be. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure a lot of people who are watching, has seen that documentary I put together on the New York Comic Arts Gallery. But he had a show for Bernie in October 1977. And he had 4 Swamp Thing covers. I even believe the number 4 that I showed earlier was on there. It was $300 for that cover. The cover to 9 was $400. Right. So and the House of Secrets cover was something like 8 or 9. I mean, in the documentary, I have the price sheets and everything that the guy had. And he I don't know if he sold any of those there. I know he sold a lot of rights in art. It was the only show that he had where he actually sold anything. He had shows for Jeff Jones and Kaluta a few times, a lot of different miscellaneous shows, but the rights and show was like the pinnacle of his success, and then it just kind of went downhill from there.
Yeah. I have the fanzine from that show.
Oh yeah.
I keep the fanzines. I think this was the 1978 Comic Art Convention.
That's right.
And this was Jeff Jones, Mike Kaluta, Barry Windsor Smith, Bernie Wrightson here, and it is great. I mean, I collect these fanzines when I can, and you never know what you'll find in them. Sometimes these are old collections. I might find them somewhere, and I found things. But if you can look at a costume parade of just a whole bunch of 1970s people doing. Oh
yeah, no.
Red Sonja, it's phenomenal.
Right, well, Frank Thorne and all the Red Sonja ladies that he had hanging around, and Frank Thorne was at because they had a big for the Bernie Wrightson show. They ended the show with a Halloween party, and nice. Frank Thorne was there, and Al Milgrom, all the guys from the studio. It was Jim Starlin, and the guy had pictures of all of them. It was totally crazy. But yeah, very fun. So hey, well, I got a Thanos and Vader piece here to show.
So this another idea I had. This was done by a guy named Al Newen, and he has a Newen, Knewen. So the way that the name is pronounced is the name of his site. And what he did, as I saw him at a con, and I talked to him a little briefly, and he does famous artwork like the Napoleon on the horse. It turns out to be Luke Skywalker on the Tauntaun. Or he does Washington crossing the Delaware, and it's Vader with the Imperial Army on one of those skiffs. So I asked him to do me one that I said, here's an idea I have. Let's do the Sistine Chapel, and let's make Vader. And I said, just have fun with it. So he added the Imperial probe droid and the stormtroopers there. But this is what it's when things work, when you ask for it, and you're way more surprised than you of the quality of it. You don't mind paying whatever they'll do for it. And he was so great for it, and I'm very grateful for him. And I do order more from him here and there. He might be the one I try to get some other people some gifts from him, but this is that. Really well done. He colored it, inked it, drew it, and great concept. And there's Liz, Miami Lizard. That's her sketch of herself. That's my wife right there.
Very nice.
Yep.
No, that's good. You mean I don't think. I feel like I've seen some of those images before that you're talking about.
Yeah,
I'll have to check. I mean, you have to send me the guy's site?
I will. Sure. He does one. If you remember the scene of everybody of the construction workers on the crossbeam when they're building there, he does it with the Avengers, and it's great because it's really funny the way they're all sitting at each other and Loki's just looking up like that, So
very good, very good. Let's see. Next one. Here we go.
Okay, this will start probably the run. So this is from the movie comic of Avengers 1, and you're going to see a theme probably back to back to back. So what it is I love the Avengers films, all of them, and I always wanted pieces from there. So I searched them down, and I got this piece, and this is the exact scene where if you watch the movie, it's exactly that scene with Cap with the shield over his head when Hulk punches the Chitauri, that big ship or Chitauri, whatever that thing is, down. And Thor is above it, throwing the lightning down, and Iron Man is blasting it with his repulsors. It's the big scene where, just before it on the page, and I have the comic here, he says, "That's my secret, Captain. I'm always angry," and that's punch, and that's the original art. And I have that here with the. I always kind of keep those two together. That's one of my favorite. From Avengers 1 right here. And the comic it doesn't have the overlay on that because this was done obviously post much more recently. But the inking on it is one of those there. It's just really well, the depth is there. You see the crunch, you see the punch, you have the Thor up there, Iron Man, Cap. Black Nat and Hawkeye right there, and it's a great scene in the movie, and it's a great piece to have of one of my favorite films.
No, that's a nice one. That one is a really good one. And yes, we do have a few other Avengers ones here.
Okay, this is a good one. This is from Avengers End Times, which was done before Avengers 1, the film, but there's a story behind this. This is Mike Mayu, and I got this actually recently. In the show we were just talking about, Bill. I got this when Mike. I was Mike's first time when he opened up his website, and he went on the mainframe, and I picked this up right there. The story behind this, if you don't know, is, and this is 2012 or 2011 when it was written, is, and I'm going to tell you, Hank Pym has to grab Pym particles to take some of the Avengers back in time, which includes Wolverine, to go fix the wrong because the fate of the world depends on it. If it sounds like anything familiar, that was called End Times, and it's the plot to Endgame, and it's just it's a double page splash, and really well done. This is probably really nice when you have all the Avengers, including Wolverine, Vision, Thor, Cap, Clint. The Hulk actually is Thunderbolt Ross, but you wouldn't know that unless I showed you the original. But it's Thunderbolt Ross. And you got Spider-Man down here. You pretty much have everybody you'd want, and great work. And even the leaves are done really well. And Mike Mayu, one of the best right there. So that's the double page splash.
Yeah, that's a beauty. And you took that out of the frame for us.
Yes, it usually sits up there in a frame. Yes, this is another one of the wife's favorite works, and it's almost the way he does it with the hashing of the pencil, shine over Hank Pym's face. So, and think about the plot. It's pretty much Endgame's plot.
Oh yeah, no, I love May's work. I mean, I did a solo interview with him probably 4 or 5 months ago, and he's just a great guy. I've run into him at shows several times, and I can't say enough good things about him. And his artwork is phenomenal. I mean, I like when he does paint his work, and I like it when it's it's just like that. I mean, it's the same quality, and it's absolutely beautiful. And he's done well for himself. He's one of the artists who really took the challenge of COVID and not being able to go to shows, and he's found a way to make a good a good living while not being able to get out. So he's one of the many people. I'm curious to see what's going to happen when we in a year from now when maybe we start having shows again. Will he go to as many shows as he used to? Because I don't know. I mean, if you could sit at home and make the same amount of money, I'd probably sit at home too.
It's true.
But yeah, he's done great though. But let's see. I know I've got a couple other Avengers pieces here queued up.
Okay, this is a piece by Ryan Stegman.
Yeah.
Linked by Jay Liston here. This is actually a cover of an Avengers comic done for C2E2. You can see the Chicago skyline in the background, but there's a change they made. This was just before Age of Ultron was about coming out. I guess C2E2 back then was in April, and this came out May the 4th be with you, but it was Ultron came out that time. And you could see it's Thor Odinson and it's Steve Rogers and Tony fighting Ultron right there, and it's my Age of Ultron piece in the backgrounds of Chicago, which was not there. But what the actual piece became was this is when they introduced, and I'll show you what the original art. What it became was they switched Thor to Jane, and Sam Wilson is there. So it's kind of this is the original, and then they made a change at the last minute through the digital process and changed it to them. It's the same face, cape is in the same area, same look here, the punch, the hair, and it's just. But this reminds me more of the film of when they all jumped on his back, and
oh, of course,
yeah. So that's my Age of Ultron for the 3 Avengers. I don't have one I am looking for one, but I need a theme for. I got to find a scene where Thanos and Doctor Strange are having just that conversation. That's the one I want. So,
well, now you've put it out there, so maybe somebody will.
I'm looking for it, and I'll have to find it somewhere. So
right. Well, on CAF we have that want list feature, so if you plug in all your right keywords and it comes up, you'll get an email. So
I'm a big searcher on there, and I do reach out to a lot of people on CAF a lot about pieces that they usually have NFS on it, and I'm like, maybe we can talk.
Right. Well, I mean, I make it really easy for people to like when they're editing art, they can easily see all the emails they've gotten for a piece of art. So, if they knew that they've gotten an inquiry or two and they're ready to start thinking about letting it go, they can just go back into that piece of art, pull up the emails they've gotten, and maybe they've got a seller, or buyer right there. So, I've learned a few tricks.
Yep. My next piece of art was actually shown on your show last week, not the Berkey and Snyder show, the dueling one last week, when he brought up, but I don't have it yet, and I'm working with Anthony on trying to get it, but you saw the size of it.
Oh, the Vader piece.
That's my next, and that's hanging in his dining room, so I kind of feel bad. I think I have to have Liz call Sharon and make sure it's okay.
Yeah, that was that was a funny show because Albert picked up that other piece he had hanging on the wall, the David Peterson piece.
Yep.
And then that was, I know you had emailed him. We were talking in the green room after the show. We were like, wow, we didn't sell a lot. And then he's like, he got an email from you and things had kind of turned around. And then Berkey even sold that Eternals page too.
Yeah.
So,
which I even said to Mike, I'm like, that's going to go. That's going to sell.
I thought so too. I was, but the same thing happened. I know he's got an inquiry about, I think maybe the Avengers piece he showed yesterday. So a lot of those big ticket items, nobody's going to jump out there and say, claim that piece right then and there. I mean, you got to ask questions. You got to, what's the condition? And, that's unless you know the piece or you're really familiar with it, nobody's going to pull the trigger. So that's why
that amazing witching hour of Nick Hardy piece that he showed 2 weeks ago, and whether it be the Avengers piece from Avengers 59 or that piece, they're really high quality. I asked him to send me digital pictures to try to help him, somebody else might be interested in it. But it looks so much better. I mean, Nick Hardy is one of those, if you're a fan of the Bronze Age, Nick Hardy is one of the top there is of cover artists for sure. So,
okay. And I had to see a question. I want to just follow up with ML. He's asking me about alphabetizing. So you mean like when you go to the watch galleries page and I'm only showing them by date, you want to maybe organize them by person's name? Is that the question or request? Because that would make sense. And I can always leave the date on there. I'll tell you one thing that I discovered. I get emailed every time the site has an error on it. And the other day, before I even checked my email, because they all get filed away in a folder, I had a guy email saying, yeah, I just had this error when I tried to go watch my watch galleries page. And for people who aren't premium, you don't know what that is. But on CAF, you can follow any collector on the site that you want. And you're going to get in your daily email if that person you're following made an update. But there's a page where you can go and see the whole list of watch galleries. Well, the error that he got, I had never seen before. And so I had to go to Maureen and I'm like, what the hell is this? And so we looked and it turned out this guy had 1,400 watched galleries. And the page was crippling trying to load itself because it was, it literally had to load 1,400 user blocks, with their name and how long they've been a member. And we actually were loading all of the artwork in the last 30 days from these people under that. So this is a page that's like a half a mile long. You could roll it out and it would, it would be a half mile long. So at the end of the day, we realized we can't show all that data on there because then we ran a query like, is anybody else looking or following that many galleries? And sure enough, there was like 5 guys that are following over 1,000 people. Wow. So yeah, I was a little shocked about that because you build this thing 12 years ago and I'm just thinking people are going to watch 50, 60, 100 galleries, all their favorite other collectors. No, there's people that have plugged in so many so I live and learn. I mean, that was good, but honestly, ML, I am going to make a note of that. And we were already in there doing some programming changes to adjust it because of discovering that one flaw. So we will make that happen. Certainly by next Monday, I can promise you, I will put that filter in there. So sorry to interrupt you, Jay.
No worries. I love it. I love that.
And see, ML says that he only watches 50 galleries, and it's a pain. Right, 50 is a pain. Can you imagine 1,000? I don't know how that guy does it.
Yeah,
so
galleries I keep an eye on, but the CGC boards let me know when new stuff shows up in the marketplace that people want.
Right, exactly.
And that's been a big help for me as well.
Right. Yeah. You know, I don't spend a lot of time on the CG. Only when somebody says, "Hey, there's a post on there. You should keep an eye on it." I don't know. I don't have enough time in the day, even when I wasn't doing these chats, to follow the CGC boards. Maybe you know, if didn't have to run CAF all day long and all the other things, but you know, I've got a lot of friends that go on it, and I know that marketplace is well used. You know, I think that's great. Let's see. I know we've got one other Avengers specific piece.
Yes, this is different. This is Larry Stroman, and this is from a What If comic. What if the Gamma Bomb? It's what if forget the numbers. What if the Gamma Bomb went off in World War II? Now, this is like an homage to the Iwo Jima Memorial, but it's Hulk. It's the Avengers right there. It's there. This was done in the 90s. It's Larry Stroman. It's What If number 71, page 24. It's the final page of the book, so it's the last page. This is a full page splash, which is, I love using those terms. Of all the pieces that might have been a bargain, this is the bargain of bargains. I love getting it from the artist directly when he said he had it, and I'd be interested in it. And it's a phenomenal piece. It's the coloring of it is great, but I think I like the black and white better. So the coloring is here, looks great. And now the storyline is great. There's a bunch of Hulks running around in Japan, but there's one Hulk who survives there, and you've got just great artwork, great linear artwork, very different style. If you don't know Larry Stroman, he was one of the best of the 90s that I think. He just did it his own way, and I love it. It's just a great artwork, and that's a cool piece to have. Just really cool for original look there.
Oh yeah, no, I get it. That's great. I like Larry's work a lot.
Yeah.
He was a mainstay in the 90s, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And Rich, you are correct. Unlike last night, the flagpole is not picking anyone's nose in that one. How could Jordi Bernay draw that thing so it was literally touching, you know, at the
right
and it just, how does that happen? I mean, you know, when you're penciling that in, you're like, nope, got to move it. I got to move cap. I've got to change the angle a little bit on the flagpole. Yeah, what are you going to do?
Exactly.
So,
the artwork, ML, is in the What If comic number 71. I'll show you what the cover looks like. It's actually a pretty cool book. I like the What Ifs. I was always a fan reading them as a kid. I thought I call it the first published fan fiction. Mm-hmm. And most people did it because what if the Gamma Bomb spawned 1,000 Hulks? So again, it's a lot of Hulks. The Watcher's in it, and it is, I think it's 1995, right? 1995. It's really well done, and it's 90s Trek. But if you can find it anywhere, pick these up. They're great reads. They're fun. I always consider them to be fan fiction, and the guys that write it are fans. So. And you never know, because you get in the 70s and 80s, you had like MC Wyman doing this stuff on there, and Sam De La Rosa, before people knew he was. They were doing the what ifs. It wasn't your top of your most well-known guys, but great artwork either way.
And he was asking as well, what is it in a frame? Was it in a frame when you were?
Yeah. I actually just took the glass off the frame. This is just a cheap little frame. It's here. I tape it to the back of a black because it kind of adds a little bit. I do a lot of my own framing, or I design my own framing, or I go to a Michael's store and they let me play with their toys in the back room. So, yeah. So I took the glass off. It's over there. So it sometimes the glare is too much if you see my glasses themselves. So
turn it around though. I'm just curious. Is that like no, like from the back? I'm okay because I couldn't tell. Okay, so I see how you have it. All right. What I used to buy back in the day was they had, I don't even think I do have one. I can take it down because it's just got a print in it. If people are curious about different things. So like from the back, I'll put myself full screen here. This is basically like a clip frame. It's got Masonite backing, and it's kind of got these grooves, so the clips fit into them really well, and you can basically pull it down and pop it off, or slide it right off the end, and then the other side ends up just being the piece of glass, and I usually will just put a piece of like black paper behind it, and you can easily tape the art if you need to, but I really only use these for prints now, but you could usually buy these by the case. For a really cheap. I don't know I can't remember where I got them, because I've had them for about a dozen years. But the thing was, they were really nice because you could literally just kind of change the art in your room in a couple minutes. And I still have a bunch of animation cells upstairs that I've kept in here. So anything that couldn't get, because the glass, of course, is not UV, but it was a nice slick way of doing quick framing and like you said, well, I don't have to go to Michael's to do it. It was all do it yourself kind of thing,
Yeah, so, sometimes I use these plexiglass frames from Walmart to put some stuff in, because it's easy for me to move around. And if you have kids, sometimes the glass breaks and falls, or you might there. So it's a danger thing. So if I have a low art, or a lower hanging art, I'll always use the plexiglass. I don't want the kids touching anything, but you can't stop it.
No, you definitely can't. But that's, but yeah, those are. I do like these. I still actually have a ton of them I didn't use, because I was like, I'm just going to put them everywhere.
Yeah, frameless are really good. Frameless are really good for that. I like that style.
Yeah, and I see some people talking about Larry Stroman. I mean, Larry did get into some trouble with some commissions, a few years back, and I have heard the same thing. I mean, I know he's been out a little bit more. Jason's picked up a few pieces from him at a couple shows. So, everybody runs afoul sometimes of, there's a reason why, some artists need to have a rep, right? I mean, let somebody be the person prodding them along and guaranteeing that things get done. And sometimes you can get into trouble. I mean, we've seen it happen so many times in the past. I mean, that's why I usually like going to the con and just making sure if I can't get it there, I'm not getting it. Is a better way to go than doing take-home commissions and that sort of thing, because you just don't know what may or may not happen. Right. So
I have a whole method with commissions. I've got it down to a science now. I go the first day of the con, especially if I'm there early, being an exhibitor if I am, or if I know it's going to be somebody who's busy or who takes a while, i.e., let's say a Kevin Nolan or someone like that who takes a long time to do one. You might want to do him in advance. You reach out to them. You see them on there. A lot of times you can use a lot of different sites to find out what their email address is, and email them saying, hey, I'm interested in a commission. I mean, I've missed out on a George Perez, but I already got a George Perez. But it just goes back and forth. And you never know, because especially with the Hero Initiative, I tend to flock towards those guys anyway. So
right. No, I've gotten a lot of sketches through Hero Initiative, because it's kind of it's a guarantee. They want to get it done quick because it's for a good cause, and anything that I've ever purchased through them via eBay, as a sketch opportunity, or any of the chats where you get something. I mean, those people, those guys always turn them around. But yeah, like Ruben said, sometimes a rep does add a lot of value. I mean, they're worth their weight in gold, because I mean, it's just better. I mean, I want my artist drawing, and painting. I don't want them to ship art or be responsible for that kind of stuff. Let them do what they're great at, and let somebody else manage the sales and commissions and that sort of thing. When that's what they'd rather be, not be doing. It just doesn't make any sense. But we have a few more pieces here. I know that. Let's see, what do we got? Because I had to skip over a couple here. Well, this is still kind of Avengers-y.
Yep, that is an Assad Ribic 16 by 20 watercolor painting of Thor. The reflection on the helmet is paint. It looks like it is. That is legitimately one of my favorite works. I try to get a Thor piece by my favorite or most iconic Thor artists, whether it be Buscema, Simonson. Don't have a Kirby yet, because I've not that I haven't had the opportunity. I haven't chosen which Kirby, or one has to really wow me to spend the money on a Kirby piece, but it has to really. It just can't be a Kirby piece. It has to be the right piece, and that's one of the things about original art is you have to really love it, because you're going to be looking at it if you display it every day. So.
Right.
make sure it's the right piece for you. And this was a Thor piece that I got. Here it is from Anthony. It was on his site, and we talked about it for about a couple of months. Though it wasn't on his site yet, he said Assad's going to send this out. Assad Ribic is how he pronounces his name. And it's got the original kind of Thor helmet style with the God of Thunder. This was around the same time he was doing God of Thunder, and this is just a great Thor piece right here. It's not Chris Hemsworth, but it is Thor. And that's for my wife. She's a big Chris Hemsworth fan.
Very nice. Very nice.
And, chrome frame, and this is one of those frames that you call floating frames. I think these work well for your oversized art, your splash pages. They just look better in it. A little float, so that's clear. And picking the right frame to go with your art is half the battle. And then when you get to matting, that's a whole nother war.
Yeah, I went to art school, so I know all about matting, and I don't want to ever go back into doing anything like that again.
I think the piece you have coming up is one I matted. So
all right, let's see. Where are they? I've got a couple more here.
Okay, that I matted stuff. That is Cynthia Martin, who is a well-known Star Wars comic from Marvel. The later ones from like the 90s with Sienkiewicz on up. 80, I think 88. She did a lot of the Return of the Jedi stuff, a lot of the interiors. That is my favorite scene in my favorite movie of all time. It's my favorite scene. It's the join me, and I will, I can put the helmet on and do the whole thing. And, a breathing helmet and everything. And I do the voice, and it's great to scare the kids. But when it's my favorite scene of the movie, it's the iconic moment in Star Wars when the true wow factor. And Cynthia Martin I've had her draw on items and had Dave Dorman paint them. This one she did, and again, Anthony Snyder came through for me on this one. I think I got this on one of his auctions, one of the convention shows he did that you hosted, Bill.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I picked this up there. I text him right there. He says, "Bring that piece out. Bring that piece out."
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that's one of the fun things about your. Anytime you're live, I get the alert, and if it's a Saturday or a Sunday, I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it. So here
there you go.
Is, and let's talk about matting again. Matting this one. This is one I had to play with at Michael's. I'll just stop the glare. So matting this one, I had to make a few decisions. Sorry about the glare, but you could see so this one is matted double with the white lining in there and everything else. The matting on this one is the gray to match the tone of it, and then a dark blue, which is kind of not seen in there, but it's hinted at with a black frame, and it's a beautiful piece. I was very happy when Anthony got that to me in enough time to where I could sit and get this done and mat this up just like that. So
that's a beauty and a classic scene. I can't imagine what Halloween is like around your place.
Well, my family cosplays together. My wife she was green for about 3 years in a row. She was She-Hulk. She was Gamora. We have a full-on leather Gamora outfit that she wore. I was Star-Lord. My daughter was Rocket Raccoon, and my son was Thanos. He was Baby Groot the first time. He was Baby Groot, and he was in the Bjorn with the tree hat.
Right.
My daughter has been Black Widow when she was 6 months old. We put a red doll wig on her, and we had a onesie made with like cleavage and everything, so she looked like she was in the Avengers 1. I was kind of like the Cap, Iron Man, when my wife was sensational She-Hulk, and but she was green. I mean, she gets into it too. Recently, our most recent one that we did before the whole COVID thing was we did magic was the theme. So I was Doctor Strange, she was Zatanna, and my kids were the Harry Potter kids, but I don't know. Well, one was Hermione and the other one was Ron Weasley. Pretty much, we said we're just going to put some robes on them because every time we get them into costume, we lose a mask, a tail, or something,
Of course.
We can't go running around a con. Did you see a raccoon's tail? You'll know, but you could buy one over here.
Right. Go check Lost and Found. There's 3 or 4.
There's 3 or 4 in there. Yeah. I've always I've gotten into the cosplay. I've done the Halloween, and I've got Thor helmet, metal Thor helmet, Vader, Iron Man, Star-Lord, full Iron Man outfits. My wife gets into it. It's a lot of fun. Family that cosplays together stays together.
There you go. We say the family that programs together stays together here on. So a little different, but a lot more geeky.
Yeah, well, it is.
They're both equally the same, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right.
One more?
Yeah, speaking of Doctor Strange, I think.
Oh, well, then you have 2 more. Okay, so Doctor Strange. That is another John Buscema, which Doctor Strange is one of my favorite characters, always was. If you ask me what my favorite art is, it is the Steve Ditko Doctor Strange run, starting from 110 all the way through to Ditko's done. If anybody wants to see that original art, you look for that original art, you get it. It is the true mystic nature, I think it's Ditko's best work, but this is John Buscema doing Doctor Strange, which in its own right is pretty rare. I have a few Doctor Strange original artworks done by Barry Kitson from the Mark Waid run recently. Those were great. But this is again from Doom 2099. This is the 3rd page of that book, number 40, page 14. But it was 19 in the book. Again, you have Doctor Strange in his astral form, and he's reaching out to Doom knowing something is wrong, and it's the Sanctum Sanctorum. And it's a little bit of a different... The Doctor Strange that is in the film is as arrogant as you think he is nothing like the comic, especially the early ones. He isn't your average hero. That's why he's a defender more than an avenger. I love the work. Just getting... If you look at the candle work, it's over the top in your face that it seems so simple to us, but that's how John was. He drew from the elbow, and which meaning he was very rapid, very fast. And the inking work on this, again, Scott Kolbash, who has done so much inks of that era. But again, I love the Doctor Strange looks on it. The page itself is in amazing condition for being to find the 3rd page. Again, I paid more for shipping sometimes, or waited a long time to get these from overseas. But when you're trying to complete a book, that's a rabbit hole.
It certainly
I've got a lot more pages to go, but I've got 3, and I'm always looking more for Doom 2099 issue 40. So, and it's again, Doom 2099 was a book that I liked. That most people, it didn't do well. I heard when it sold, but back then everything was doing well, if you ask me. But it's just a great Doctor Strange Buscema, which is not something he normally drew, like Daredevil and stuff. So,
yeah, no, it's a great one, and I think a lot of people like it as well. And you know what? I don't have another image. That was actually the last one I've got. So you got one?
Show this. This is Ed McGuinness, and the reason why I want to show this piece is Ed McGuinness put out his website, and within 5 minutes, I was the first one on it, and I got this page, and this is the modern. I want to show people the difference between before and after. This is how the size of modern work now, because it's very digital. But Ed, and this is old school style done on the old school page. This is pencils, inks by Mark Morales, and it's Avengers from the recent Jason Aaron Thor run. Avengers run, and it's Silver Surfer just looking really good. I was the first person, and I have that email saved from Ed McGuinness saying, "Wow, I just started the site and you're already there." The next page, I went back when I saw what he wasn't done putting out the pages from the book. The next page was the one where he gets stabbed in the back with the Necro sword, and he only wanted $600 for it, and I missed out on that one. I would have bought both of them, but I was very happy to be the first one. So. And I love Ed McGuinness, and he's one of the class acts of the industry himself, because he's always been a pleasant to work with. But
I've talked with him a few times. I love his work, and you're right. He is a class act, that's for sure. That's a beauty.
Thank you.
I mean, Ed could do no wrong. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Ed's work.
I consider him a modern Buscema in my own way. That everything he draws is just he has his own style. you know, but it's signature in its own right, that it pays homage to the Kirby, Buscema, and everything else with his own flair to it. So
right. No, it's Hey, I can show you one. You did send me one picture that isn't a piece of art, though. I can show that. So there you go.
Oh, there I am. That's me as Paste Pot Pete with Jason Aaron. Now, Jason Aaron is. I've been a fan of his since the days of Scalped, when Jock did the cover.
Right. Oh yeah, those were great.
And I met Jason several times. I live in Omaha. He lives in Kansas City, and we go down to the Kansas City Comic-Con, which is known as Planet Comic-Con, and he's always there. And we always grab a beer from this guy Adam, the brewer, and he's a great guy. And Jason's always there, and so is Scotty Young. And back in the day, I have so many books signed by Scotty Young and artwork by Scotty Young, this drawn for me, and nobody would ever go near him because he was so young. This was young. This was a couple of years ago. Jason and I were talking about War of the Realms. Mm-hmm. But the story behind the Paste Pot Pete is I've always been a big fan of Peter Petruski, and the fact that I even have a Trapster original art page by Don Heck, a full 3/4 page splash of Don Heck drawing the Trapster, because I don't have any Paste Pot Pete Ditka work, but I do want one. He's not in that many. You can get reprints, but he's not in that many books. And somebody said, I've never seen Paste Pot Pete ever cosplayed before. And I walked around, I did it at C2E2, and then a week later I did it at Planet Comic-Con. And the people who got it were like your dealers, your older guys, and everything else. Yeah. And then there was a 7-year-old boy, or 7-year-old boy, where he goes, "Excuse me, are you Paste Pot Pete?" Yes. And he goes, "Do you know I'm a big fan of his because of the cover of Doctor Strange. My dad has that book." And I look over at the guy, and it was a guy was at Roy Thomas's table, and he came over and was like, "Wow." I said, "Your son knows who Paste Pot Pete is. You're raising him right." You know, you're raising him right. But there I am having a fun. And that's usually what I do. I do Paste Pot Pete. I don't know who my wife was that year.
Well, you were in green, so maybe she wasn't.
Yeah, she might have been. She probably was. I don't know. I don't know what she was. Our camera woman. I don't know. We know she was Zatanna. That's right. She was Zatanna the first time. Yeah.
And I was going to show the Perez.
Yep, that's George Perez and I. George, that was at C2E2, and just laughing with that shirt I'm wearing is the logo that he came up with the Thanos with the he's like, "Who are your favorite characters?" I'm like, "Thanos and Darth Vader," and he goes, "That sounds funny." So this was way back when, and you know how George never takes money. He only wants donations to various charities and stuff. But George is always one of those guys that will take the extra time to talk with you. So there always is a long line for George now, but it's worth the wait. He takes everything, he listens, and he had a lot of fun. And it was a great time. It was before anybody really got there, so we were talking for a little bit. And Mark Wolfman actually took this picture.
Oh, really?
He was sitting right next to him, yeah. So I think they were doing something with the probably the Teen Titans. Were just coming, they revamped them, so they went back and did the story, the Marv Wolfman Teen Titans stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So. Great,
yeah, very, very cool. Yeah, like we were talking earlier, it's like everybody's 50% of the people I know, their most favorite and earliest convention experience was getting a piece of artwork from George Perez. I mean, he was just the nicest guy, easy to approach, and I don't know. I mean, everybody has always had great experiences, and they usually start with George.
Yep. I mean, when you meet the younger artists now, they tell the same story. "Oh, you got to go see George Perez. He was my first." And like talking with guys, whether it be Dave Acosta or any of the guys, Al Rapport, or anything else, they always say when George was at the con, they always go over and talk to him too, and shake his hand and introduce themselves, and always get a little say hello to him and stuff. So I actually had George sign Creatures on the Loose 17, and he said, "I've never signed this before. Do you know this is my first cover?" I said, "That's why I got it." Because that's what I do, sign comics. Just a side note, I try to get the first works they've ever done signed, or maybe something significant of it signed, like George Perez, Jim Steranko, Jim Starlin's for the Iron Man 54s on my list. But just fun stuff. So
Yeah. No, that's great. Yeah, George. He's done a lot of sketches for me in the day. He's done a lot of work for Hero.
yes,
So
he's the
he
one who introduced me to Hero Initiative in 2009.
mhm.
He's the one who was actually, I think it was $10 for him to draw that Star Wars thing. He said, "I'll do
Right.
that. Yeah, just put $10 in that
In the tip jar, right?
in a plastic cut-off milk crate, milk
I know.
a gallon thing cut off with a little tape on it that said Hero Initiative. Before Jim put up the logo, even it was right there. Just said Hero Initiative, and told me what it was for. I'm like, absolutely, and that's where I met Mark Waid and Ron Mars, and talking to writers is one of my favorite things. I've known I'm an art collector. I'm a huge fan of writers because they're the ones who got me hooked on the book. While we judge a book by its cover in comics, what makes us buy the second one is always the quality of the written word. So,
right. Well, some artists do sell some of the books, but you're absolutely right on there. And yeah. Speaking of Hero, I mean, I was working with them on I built their first website, and they're back in the day. They were like, "Do we call it theheroinitiative.org or should it be heroinitiative.org?" I mean, so we were there, before they even bought the domain. I was helping them because they used to be called A Commitment to Our Roots or Actor,
yep.
and they were moving away from that to the Hero Initiative branding and stuff. So, but yeah, no. So I look forward to working with them again in May, whatever.
I think we're doing something in May with them, and you are too.
Well, right, the whatever that May show is. So yeah, I can say here, because one of these days I'm going to make a little outtake that actually kind of has useful information, like when is my next show. But it is May 22nd and 23rd. It's the weekend before Memorial Weekend.
Yep.
Yeah. That was going to be the Lake Como show, but I'm pretty confident Lake Como is not happening in Italy.
And they also canceled WonderCon, I think, was going to be that weekend.
I believe so. Well, I think they moved a bunch of them to later in the year now.
Yeah,
I don't know if WonderCon might. Yeah.
I don't know if WonderCon announced the date yet, but they're not expecting it to be that weekend. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't.
We'll take advantage of it for everybody, and you can join.
Exactly.
Bill and us on Mainframe or Talent Talk, wherever we're going to be, and it'll be a lot of fun. Enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things to do. You won't see me on camera there. I'm always behind the scenes. I produce a lot of the rooms behind the scenes, and I'll call the talent. And quick story: the Baltimore Comic Con that we did, the Ringo Awards. Stan Sakai was going to be. He was nominated for an award, and he won. Of course, it's Stan Sakai. And he came in about 4 hours early, and I'm setting it up. And he goes, "Do you mind if I just stay here in the back for a while?" I'm like, "It's going to be about 8 hours. Are you sure?" He goes, "I'll just draw and hang out here." So everybody who got to go to the green room, I was calling people, Stan's the guy for 8 hours in here. And I'm like, "All right, Stan, we got somebody else coming in." They're like, "Hey, Stan." And you would get these people that are indie comics or web comics or those flowing comics, have never, been outside. They're 19 or 20 or 21 years old, that they're getting out these Ringos, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm in a room with Stan Sagai." I said, "Well, you're going to be here about an hour." So, so it was a lot of fun.
That's great. I have not had that happen before. Yeah. You're probably the earliest person that's ever popped into the green room where I was just sitting around. I don't know what the hell I was doing, and then it was you just popped in. And I'm like, "Whoop! I gotta get my earbuds in here. I'm not going to be able to hear you."
No worries.
No, but Jay, this has been great, man. I mean, I've been wanting to do this for a while. No, it's been I've been wanting to try to get as many people from Mainframe in the show one way or another. So you're really the first person that I've been able to kind of give back to. So.
And congratulations on 1,000 subs. That's great great move.
I know. Yeah, I think it was you. We were waiting for you, Jay. We were waiting for you because you came on screen, and that's the moment
there it is.
Tipped. So no, this is it's cool. I can't wait. I mean, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm not a millennium. I'm a little older than a millennial.
But anyway, if there's ever anything I do for you, just let me know. But
sure. Thanks.
No. And listen, as soon as you get some art in your CAF gallery, and make sure you get some of those Vader Thanos pieces.
Oh yeah, I think I'm up to about 20 or so. I actually have a lot of other original art. I'll show you too. A lot of other fun stuff, Star Wars related or Really good stuff I'll put out there. Yeah.
Well, shoot me an email after you've done that, and then I'll update the description on the show for that too, and I'll put the link to your gallery so people can get in there and get familiar with everything that's in your collection.
That'll be a fun project this weekend because it's going to be minus 24 here. So,
where are you based?
Omaha, Nebraska. We're expecting another cold freeze here. It's minus 6 now, but we're going with wind chill minus like 25 by Saturday. So,
it's cold here, but it's
stay inside and play with the art.
Exactly. Well, stay warm. Yes. And thanks everybody. Thanks for helping us get to 1,000 views and hanging out with Jay Dee and I this evening. We'll see you again on Tuesday with another Comic Art Live episode. I believe Fred Chamberlain is going to be our guest for that show, and then another Dueling Dealers on Wednesday. I think we've got the secret sauce simmering a little bit now for that show. I think it's going to be much better next time. And then another CAF update next week. So again, have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys next week.